Hi everybody, so my name is Sister Sr Cooey. The Máire is actually, well, depending on what part of Ireland you're from, it's pronounced differently, but it means Mary, and all the sisters here have a version of Mary in their name. We often don't use it when we're speaking to each other because that would get really confusing. It'd be like something out of Sister Act. But yeah, so Máire is Mary, and it's actually Mary for a normal person like myself, because we actually in Irish have a word name for Mary reserved just for our Blessed Mother, which is Wara. So it's nice just to have her protection in our name. The second name seems to be confusing absolutely everybody, the name I'm going by, Sr Cooey, except for the people who live within 10 miles of my hometown. Everybody else is totally confused, even practically everybody else in Ireland. St Cui there's very little known about him, but he is a 7th century saint from a local townland about a mile away from my parish. Well, from my home actually, it's all within my parish. And St Cui was a monk, and he was a very holy man, and he practices fasting and penance and lived a life of prayer. And gradually in a place called Knockanelder, which is beside the shoreline, he was constantly praying there, and around him became this parish, a parish called Whither. And so people really were drawn to his way of life and drawn to his faithfulness. And gradually more people joined him, and it's thought that perhaps because it became such a public place with the parish there, that he went about 2 miles down the road to Tara Bay, perhaps down near St Cooey, and set up there, and then eventually became an abbot in what is now a Protestant town called Cu'Mhaighe. But that's really all that's known about St Cui, but his legacy lives on, and has lived on since the 7th century in my parish. There are holy wells where around where the church where he was first there with the faithful at that time. And now we have an open air mass there every year, but there's also, you can go, and the holy wells are there for washing your eyes, your mouth, and for drinking, and many people go, if they're not well, they will go and they'll wash there. There's also 2 stones remaining of the original church, and they're put in the altar that we have there, and all the gravestones of 13 centuries worth of local Irish saints, most likely, because they're probably in heaven. So I used to go there to pray an awful lot. But what is lovely is actually you can see the penitential bed that St Cui prayed at. So you can actually, because it was right beside the sea, if the weather's not too bad, and it's nice and dry, you can actually walk out from where the church is out to the shoreline where he actually practices penances, and actually go to the penitential bed. So whenever I was discerning, I used to go out there for peace and quiet. One, because you can't get phone signal out there too much for internet, so you can just make phone calls. But it's because it was a place that was quite remote, you can actually really feel God there. And it's deep down at the bottom of a hill. You have to go down all these steps to it, is where the church is, but it sort of goes up in a bank. And I used to sit on that bank looking down over St Cui's wells, but also looking straight out across the Irish Sea, knowing that across there was the Isle of Man and England and other parts of Europe. And I sit there and pray my rosary and journal. Sometimes when I did have phone signal, I would phone vocations directors, but it was a real place of quiet and peace. And I used to go and pray and ask the saints that were buried there, and obviously St Cui as well, just to really pray for me as I was making my decision of to hear God's voice, to know, well, where is he calling me to? Is he calling me? And when you're in a really holy place, like if you ever go to Lourdes or Fatima or Knock, or even Loch Derg, sometimes you can just feel the sanctity of the place. You can just feel the prayers of the generations that have gone before you, and 13 centuries of people before you praying makes it a really powerful place. So I loved the name St Cui for that reason, to have St Cui and all the people that he inspired, and all the people from my parish, like my grandparents, my great-grandparents, all the people who've gone there over the years to pray, to have their prayers for me too. The second reason I chose St Cui as my name is because of the influence of the people in my parish. I know that my vocation is the fruit of generations of prayers of people in my parish. They may not have known who they were praying for, but I'm the one who is getting to live this life. I'm the one who's getting to enjoy the joy, I guess, of this life. But my town is my parish. It just is. It's just such a small place, and it is. We're not a perfect parish, but we try our best. And it's not by chance that in the last 30 years, 3 priests have been ordained from my parish, and this Saturday a 4th priest, Brother Benedict Manning, will be ordained into the priesthood in the space of 30 years. So we may not be perfect, but we are really trying our best to live a good Christian life. And for me, there was just so many people in my parish who I know have got me here and who will sustain me here. Like, I went to the schools in my parish, St Mary's and St Columbus, and the teachers I had, whether they were my RE teachers or my teacher of Irish or whatever class I was in, those teachers, practically all of them, I saw at Mass at the weekends, I saw at Mass during the missions, but not even just that. They were Eucharistic ministers, readers, they helped out at parish events, they were in St Vincent de Paul. You know, my teachers were a positive influence in that sense, in that I could see the people that I looked up to the most, outside of my parents and my grandparents, you know, who obviously passed on the faith first as the domestic church. But I saw these other adults who I admired living their faith too. And even something as simple as, like, my Irish dancing teacher would have been at Mass, my doctor would have been at Mass, but not just at Mass, but also practicing their faith in singing in the choir, you know, things like that. But my parish has played such a huge role in that when I was 15, I got a part-time job and I stayed in it for the next 7 years, and it was working weekends. And very easily I could have drifted away from my faith then, because I had to work all day Saturday and all day Sunday. But the owners of that hotel practiced their faith. And as soon as I mentioned the first weekend, I would like to get out at some stage during my shifts to get to Mass, I never missed Mass for those 7 years. And in fact, the owners of that hotel often brought me to Mass with them and then brought me back to finish my shift. And that's why, like, when I was discerning, I'm really seriously discerning, I left my job in England to go home to my parish, a parish where I knew there's people who would nourish me in my faith and support me in my faith, and a parish that, you know, tries their best to be living and active in their faith. And I knew that that was the environment I needed to be in before I entered a convent, to be in a place where I knew that people would be praying for me and people I could pray with. And just even the number of priests and different people from the local 3 parishes who I've worked with on parish councils and different committees over the last 5 years, who have really supported and encouraged me in my faith in ways that just have got me here, literally have got me here, their prayers. So for me, I just wanted to take the name St Cui, yes, for all those generations from the time of St Cui, who I know have prayed for people, prayed for vocations from our parish, and I'm the fruit of that. And please God, you know, if it's God's will, I will still be here in another 5 years' time. But I also wanted to take the name for my parish, just in thanksgiving for the example they have given me. And I know that their prayers will sustain me here, and I hope they know I'm praying for them as well. For me, it's just, yeah, it's actually quite emotional to say, but it is very important for me to have the name that reminds me of home, because I genuinely know I would not be here sitting in this community if I hadn't had the really beautiful upbringing I had, and the really Catholic upbringing I had in the town that I grew up in. And I think for that reason, it just felt right to have the name St Cui.